Good morning, welcome to SHOWstudio. It's Milan Fashion Week. This is the first panel about Milan. And here at SHOWstudio, we like to follow the big established brands, but also to support new young designers. And so we decided to cover this morning Act No.1, which is this newish, actually new, brand of Milan Fashion Week, which is quite extraordinary for Milan. We're not used to see new talent like that. And you know, the winner of Who's On Next, which is the most important award for new fashion designer in Italy, they won it in July 2017. So we decided to follow them, and we are doing this morning a panel on their second shows during the calendar, the schedule of Milan Fashion Week. To do this, I have a lovely panel of experts, and I would like to start from Anastasiia, and you introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Anastasiia, and I'm a curator specializing in photography and fashion, and also I write for a few magazines, including ID, Days, 032C, and a few others.
And SHOWstudio sometimes.
And SHOWstudio sometimes, with great pleasure, always.
Billal.
Hi, I'm Billal Taright, and I'm a London-based photographer specialized in interiors and fashion.
Oh, hi, I'm Eastwood Danso. I run a self-titled brand called Eastwood Danso, so I'm very new, and then I also just study industrial and product design at Central St. Martin.
I'm Richard Sloan, and I'm a freelance stylist based between New York and London.
Thank you all for being here. So the funny thing is that when we were trying to put together the panel about Act No.1, people were like, Act Number what? And so it's, you know, people don't always like to come in and talk about things that are, you know, less known or where the research is more difficult, because if you look them up, there's 2 shows and 2 resort collections. But already, and we'll go into this new show immediately, you can see they have a signature, they have a point of view. What impresses me about this duo is their maturity. So there are 2 boys, Luca and Galib. Luca is Italian raised, but from Chinese heritage. And Galib is from Azerbaijan, but grew up in Georgia. So there is a mixture of very interesting culture here that we can see in their collections. And there is a quite deep narrative, but what for me is the most interesting thing is their progress so fast and so quickly until this morning where I think they did an incredible show. So before going into detail, I would like to ask you all, what do you know about them? How did you find out or didn't? And what did you think about this show? Whoever wants to start.
I mean, I have to admit, I didn't really know anything about the brand. I didn't know the brand. But I think what captured my attention were 2 things immediately. Is the image, which is very striking. As soon as you come across it, you see the jewelry, you see kind of the sexy stuff, you see the interesting fabrics, you see beautiful dresses, you see the attitude. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then I looked up exactly what you mentioned, the fact that they come from very interesting 2 different backgrounds. And because, I mean, immigration, cultural hybridity in fashion is one of my main interests in general. So I was like, great, I'd love to discuss this, because the cultural dialogue of those 2 kind of be quite extraordinary.
Good. Anybody else?
I didn't know anything about this brand either. When I got the email, because I've been waiting to do a panel for a long time, really wanted to be on one. But I didn't know nothing about this brand, so I was a bit worried. But I done my research, and they're quite interesting, especially, like you said, their backgrounds, the way they culture clash, and what the outcome is. Like, both of their minds together, I think it's pretty cool.
That's one of the reasons I wanted you, especially on this panel, because you know, you can have the point of view of people that, like me, have been around sometimes, but I also need some really young people to tell me, does it talk to me? Does it matter? You know, does it resonate? And so it will be interesting to hear what you say when we go, not really look by look, but when we go in depth into the collection. Richard?
I didn't know about them either. And actually, I have to say, I quite like that, because I think if you don't have a preconceived idea of what, especially with Milan, I think, well, I speak for myself, not for everyone else, but I definitely have a very specific idea about how a Prada show looks, about how a Versace show looks. And it's quite nice to, I mean, you know, I did a little bit of research last night and then this morning. It's nice to come in and not have an idea, a preconceived idea and almost an opinion. I feel like I am looking at this truly with fresh eyes, and it's nice.
Good. Billal?
Well, apparently I'm the only one who knew about them.
Which is good.
No,
That's also one of the reasons you're here.
I saw them. There was an article in US Vogue last August about young designers, and so I started following them on Instagram right after, and I read about like they were mentioning the heritage thing, which I thought was also like incredibly interesting, and the whole like, because people don't necessarily know that you have a strong Asian community in the north of Italy, industrially speaking. And then, yeah, I kept following them. And I mean, to me, it reminds me a bit of Riccardo Tisci when he did his first show like years ago in a garage in Milan.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
it's
very much like that kind of new thing when Italy brings someone new on the scene. And it's also quite interesting how people still think of Milan as like the old, you know, like God, but you have actually a lot of young people right now showing.
In Milan?
In Milan, you have Arthur, who showed yesterday Abres.
Yes, not that young.
You have I mean, not that.
He's been around.
Yeah,
He's
not
quite
new,
established.
is he?
He's a bit.
I mean, the latest young thing was Stella Jean, like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And Sune is
Oh, Sune, exactly. And that's
Sune,
why
yeah.
we covered Sune last year. Last year, probably Sune are the youngest with.
But still, there is. I mean, same happens in Paris.
trying.
I think they're trying, and also, yeah, the looks are so strong. It's like.
Why don't we go? We start looking at the collection. I noticed. Maybe can we see the video for a little while? Can we show our viewer the video for a little while? We're going into the mattresses soon, but I would like to start from the collection itself. I noticed a few things that already established their signature. The first one is the face jewelry that have been there from the beginning, and that's something that makes instantly recognize them. And the prints, they have these, by the way, in this collection, I think they're very beautiful. They have these quite Asian looking prints that come back, and also the juxtaposition of, less here a little bit, but one thing they've always done was like putting a gown with a hoodie. So juxtaposing art elegance, or if we can call it elegance, like dressed up with the street. So the jeans underneath a dress, which is not so new, but they've done it from day one. So can I hear your thought about what you're seeing?
I think, sort of just to, I don't think that Milan is sort of as synonymous with new talent as perhaps London or New York is. And I don't know if that's an entirely fair opinion of mine. But I have to say, this looks like a very established and, I mean, you know, I'm not saying that new designers necessarily, it looks expensive. I mean, it looks like a 360 thing with the set and the mattresses, and it looks like a very accomplished body of work. And that's not...
Second show.
Yeah, I mean, it looks expensive, and, which is kind of why it feels like it's probably quite well suited in Milan, because I think Milan is probably the place that is, you know, most associated with production and quality, and I mean, not to exclude Paris and New York, but it looks really accomplished to my eye. It looks expensive.
Yeah.
And the clothes as well?
Yeah, sorry, I meant the 360, like everything, like it looks, you know, the casting, the models look good, you know, those heels are quite high, they can walk. You know, it's well fitted.
It's a very good point.
And I love, you know, the energy sometimes you get from like a young designer when it's quite sort of guerrilla style or quite punk is great, but this to me looks like a lot of work. It looks like a lot of money.
To me, it's interesting that you mentioned the word juxtaposition in terms of street and luxury, but for me it doesn't really look like juxtaposition much, and I think it's same for people of my age, probably my generation and millennial consumer, because this is what luxury I think should look like to us these days, because I think people of my age who want to invest in fashion. We can't quite invest in completely sleek, luxurious look because it looks outdated to us. But also we're quite tired of the whole, oversized hoodies and trainers. So I feel like people have this need to get something beautiful, to see.
And you don't think
beautiful.
this is it?
I think this is it.
That's what I.
That's what you meant.
Well, also because maybe I'm thinking about the previous shows. It was quite obvious that they were doing that. It's less here, but I've seen 1 or 2 looks where in a sleek look, it's like the cottons and the sequin
that's
together.
what I mean. I think for a lot of people these days, for younger people, this is the only option which exists. It's just the only option which is needed, because you want your beautiful, expensive dress, but you want to style it with your old jacket, or you want to style it with your trainer.
If I were a young designer, that's probably the best compliment I would receive, right?
Yeah, that's why I think it's actually perfect for people who kind of only entering, being young and only entering like luxury market and looking at buying like their first expensive item of clothing. Like I would totally invest
and you want
money
to wear it
into
during
this.
the day as well. You don't want to wear it just at night because it's expensive. It has to be like...
Yeah, like versatile.
Yeah, like,
I'd be quite interested to see... Oh, sorry.
Yeah, can we maybe now see the looks so we can see... I mean, there are some exquisite prints. I keep going on with those, but I really, really enjoy them. So what Anastasiia just said, I think it's probably what attracted me to study this brand the most, because I feel that this is a good offering for young people that need to be sometimes dressed more than with sneakers and, as you said, and hoodies. And I feel it's very, very modern. But then I'm the generation of women that wear Phoebe Philo, so I don't know. I really need to know if you agree. Like, do you agree, Eastwood?
I mean, the collection, I feel like, is a nice body of work, so it's strong. But I don't see it, I see it more as like high fashion, luxury than streetwear. There are some looks, like a couple looks where they have the bomber jacket on top of like a long coat.
Yeah, that's one of their signature also.
Yeah, but I feel like it's kind of out of place almost, because they've got a lot of very fine, very near enough perfect looks, and then you kind of throw in something like this and it almost seems a bit lazy. Like, even I feel like some of the looks as well with where the person's just topless or is... Yeah, I don't feel like that's needed.
Also, I don't think like a bomber jacket necessarily constitutes streetwear. I think it's a streetwear code, but I think because you include a hoodie and a bomber jacket, it doesn't actually make it streetwear per se.
But that's not them saying it, it's me. So
right, okay.
I don't think that what I'm trying to say is that they've always done that since day one. They always have juxtaposed those, types of things. Mm-hmm. So the bomber jacket on a gown, that's typical their style.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just because they like it, you know what I mean? It's
maybe they're trying to fit in as well in that whole like...
I think they're much more natural than that. I think it's much more spontaneous. I think that's actually what they like.
I mean,
in the previous look, the prints were more kimono, sort of like. There were these there's one here, but there was a lot of this Asian, like Far Eastern culture, almost Japanese culture coming into, denim, what we can call Western culture. And I think there's some things that are reminded here, which is something I appreciate in such a young brand, not trying to do a little bit of everything to belong somewhere, but doing something and insisting on that. Am I making sense?
Yeah. I think that they're actually trying to do a bit of everything, what I see.
Really?
Yeah. Because some of the looks are super strong, super elegant. They remind me of a lot of designers already that, but then there is a bit of like, I love the jewelry on the face, but for me that's something that's been done by everyone already. It's not incredibly new.
Yeah, but there's nothing new in
nothing
fashion.
No, I know there's nothing new.
Very, very
I
rare
know
to
there's
see
nothing
anything new.
but I think I find it very like these are codes that are like, so it's either like a super beautiful silhouette. I love what they do, but it's just like either amazingly chic and elegant, but with the new edge, or they bring something that maybe it's just like, as you use the word lazy. I mean, yeah, a bit lazy in the final look.
I mean, they have some really nice looks. Like, I really like the knitwear. I don't know, I just have a thing for knitwear. Like, when the collection has like some strong knit,
Oh, that's
I feel like, you know, it ups the thing a bit.
I mean, it didn't really strike me as repetitive, though, as something I've seen before. Maybe because because I think everything, particularly what people like these days, is already something which was done before, but with a twist. And
Well, it's true that Riccardo Tisci did a beautiful Givenchy show with face jewelry. It was the styling or the jewelry of that collection, and yeah, I mean, it's not new, like an earring or a necklace are not new.
And Galliano did that Dior,
Yeah.
and no, but it's been done,
As I was
obviously,
saying,
yeah.
you know, that Riccardo did it, but Galliano did it before him, and et cetera, et cetera. I'm also, and that's maybe me being a little bit too anal on this, but I'm placing them in Milan. And for
Yes.
Milan, I think this is extraordinary. Maybe in Paris they would have been less noticed, even if I still think I disagree on the lazy. I love to have different opinion, but this in Milan stands out.
It looks more Italian. It looks more European to me than Italian.
So much less
specific.
provincial, you know?
No,
Sorry. in the styling as well, what do you think, Richard?
yeah, I mean, I have to say the bomber jacket over the coat there. I can't tell if that's like one piece or two.
I thought it was a
I think it's two. Is that a coat? I mean,
It's
is it one piece?
a top and a coat, I think.
I-
A trouser, coat, and top, I think.
I think so. But I mean, even if it's not one piece and it's two pieces, that looks really consolidated to me. Like, it doesn't look like they said that long coat needs something. We need to put something over it. It looks like it's been
was
designed and
thought like that.
consolidated and considered. I don't think that they're. I really like the way it's put together. I think that I agree with Eastwood. I think the knitwear pieces really hold up. And you know, there is that kind of, there's that sexual undertone and that sort of S&M reference, which is nice, but I don't know, there's a modesty perhaps about it. It looks very young to me, but it doesn't look youthful, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
There's an elegance to it,
yeah.
and I think that this isn't, I think the demographic potentially for the customer is quite broad.
I have no idea about their prices because they're not really, I mean, they have a few point of sale yet.
Where
but
do they sell?
But I'm sure it's...
They have stockists.
They have a lot of
Yeah, they're on
stuff.
Farfetch and they are on Harvey Nichols Dubai, and then they're somewhere in Azerbaijan. So they're not yet in, you know, Selfridges, Oxford Street.
We don't know their price point, right?
I had this information. What?
We don't know how much they sell.
I don't know the prices. Maybe can someone look them up quickly on Farfetch? See if you find, just to have an idea. But as you said, it looks expensive.
Okay.
So they are selling over 20 stockists worldwide, including Farfetch, Saks Fifth Avenue in Kazakhstan,
Like a dress is £1,000.
and Harvey Nichols in Dubai. That's a dress at £939.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they're in line with not the top expensive luxury, but definitely luxury. You know, it's also about quantities. The fewer you produce, the more expensive they are. So it's not high street and it's not contemporary, it's higher than that.
Do you know, I was just thinking though, actually, I could see the high street being inspired and copying and looking at this stuff.
Yeah.
I could see, you know, I think that could translate really well to sort of a high street price. Because I think £1,000 for a dress to young people is still quite a lot.
Oh my God, it is, yes, for sure.
You know? And I can't tell what that is. Like, I don't really know where that begins and ends, but I like the way it looks. And I think you could get somebody really young and really cute.
Yeah, those can be copied, but I think those jacquard prints in print, they're not going to look as
No, because
good.
these need to look luxurious and expensive.
But I mean, what isn't copied? I mean, the high street sells only products that are inspired by the high fashion, doesn't it? So what do we think about menswear, which is more of a news, right, for them? I don't remember seeing any menswear before.
I like the knit as well, as noted before. But do they have coats for men? Yeah, they have the long knit.
I preferred, in their lookbook, they had sort of more, don't want to use a buzzword, but gender fluid styling rather than on the runway.
So in the lookbook there are boys, but dressed with neutral,
so you can
clothes.
see girls and boys wearing the same thing, styled slightly differently, but it's still the same garment. And on the runway, you see that this is
they presented in
This is really menswear, you know, trousers and a jumper. And I think that something could be done more smart in that way, or like at least more playful. You could be like. Don't make these distinctions, which are really not necessary. If you have models like men, women, models of all genders walking the show, then why not? Why make this distinction between men's and women's clothes? Apart from to sell it in different places, you know. Well, maybe because it's Milan.
Yeah, maybe exactly. But also maybe they do need to sell it in different places.
There's menswear codes, which I think there's definitely menswear codes here that are embraced, but also perhaps that are challenged. I mean, I like the way it's put together. I don't know.
You don't mind the distinctions between genders?
I think that's probably a different conversation in this context. I like the way the men's looks against the women's. It's probably not something that I would wear myself, but that's because I dressed up for you today. I'm not very sort of smart.
Yeah, I know, but it's not really about what we wear, as you say. You know, it's more about. I think I need to go back to the lazy concept and. I don't see anything lazy here. I just need you to define what you mean because, yeah.
This look, out of all the looks, this is lazy.
I don't think so. I think it's point of view.
It's almost like we're dressed today.
After what? Yeah, but I mean, this is what has been, you know, adulated in fashion for the past 2 years, and nobody was saying that was lazy. I don't want to mention names. I mean,
I think it's underwhelming.
Yeah, but not everything has to be too much. I think it's like a contrast, because a lot of it is very feminine, high femme almost, and then you've got something like this to become a contrast to that. No. Because if you show just 20 very extremely feminine looks, it's gonna lose its edge slightly to me.
But I don't disagree that that's nothing new. But you guys have loved, I don't know you, but I mean young people have loved that look for the past years. And when I was like, it's a bit lazy, I was attacked.
No, but I just feel like, oh, you go.
No, go ahead. No, let him talk.
You go ahead.
Because he was the first.
No, but just because if you look at every look and then you see that look, that's almost like somebody got up from the crowd and just decided to walk in the show.
It doesn't have anything to do with the show.
Yeah, like you could have had like, if you wanted to do a look like that, I don't know, you could have had that same top, maybe with trousers that have print that correlate to the whole collection, you know. I just feel like that look, it just doesn't belong into the collection. It hasn't,
just a bit more denim, maybe, just to consolidate.
Maybe a bit more commercial.
Or have like 3 more looks that are in a similar type, so it fits more in.
Okay, so you think it's lazy in the context of this collection?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fit I think I would wear, you know, but it's just, it doesn't fit in.
Yeah, I like how it fits in. I think it creates this like slightly more it shows something slightly more casual.
It's very Russian style.
Is it?
Well, I mean, it was brought in by
no Russian man would wear
yeah, probably, yeah.
You mean like you can see sort of a little bit
that's the Georgian influence that's the Georgian influence of one of them.
Yeah, I mean, you could see actually, I mean, I don't want to say it, but I guess we see the reflection of Demna Gvasalia's work everywhere these days, in little bits. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be that they have a similar Georgian history.
The theme of the collection is bedroom as well. That
we have to go into that too.
That we should go back to considering the lazy look, but like maybe it's just like a look that if they were here to tell us about every single look, I don't know, could be a teenager look like in your bedroom wearing your denim, your sweater that's fallen off your shoulders.
I have a press release.
You have the press release.
Yes.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something with, I agree with that look in the show, but
But I just
If
think,
you
to me,
feel the
the women's wear would just look, if you remove those looks, which are like lazy looks,
Yeah.
all the rest would just start looking too glamorous and polished.
True.
So actually, I like that it makes it a bit more refreshing to me.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear your thought better now, because it is true that when you look at that collection, that look is a bit weird, but I'm trying to think about all the men's look in this collection. I think I think they all a little bit in that direction more, and then in the luxurious direction of the women's look.
I just think the denim is, because there's the PVCs and the transparents, and it feels like there's quite a lot of, it's quite rich in sort of texture and fabric. Like maybe if they treated the denim, maybe if it just, a blue jean look is great. I went to the Helmut Lang show in New York, and they just had some amazing like pink denim in and amongst like all these brilliant cashmere things. And I think the denim's really good, but I'm with Eastwood. I just think it jars a little bit. And this to me looks, that looks sophisticated. It looks
More in tune with the rest?
I would just more in line perhaps with the women's. And as I said, I feel like it's youthful, but it's not young. And there's something synonymous with blue jean to me that's very sort of young and youthful. Okay.
Well, in their press release, it's all about this collection takes us inside one of the most secluded and private places, our bedrooms, hence the mattresses. And actually, I don't want to read it all, but the mattresses where, if we watch the video, you can see that the models, they have to go over the mattresses with their heels, and so they're a bit awkward, you know, going over that. And it's about, they say it, which is a little bit literal, as you said before, it's about overcoming obstacles and finding ways, not around them, but over them. And for me, that's a little bit of a gimmick that I don't care about, but one of the girls in my team before the show, and also Anastasiia, I guess, before, said it's an interesting way to see clothes in different situations. We always see clothes just walking in a perfect setting, and suddenly there you have to see how the clothes behave in an awkward position. What do we think about that? I
agree with Anastasiia.
With the mattresses, because I don't particularly like that, but
I think it was annoying. When I first saw it, I thought it irritated me, but actually the more I watch it, the more
it's growing.
I quite like it, yeah.
It's like when you get ready and you jump over your bed just before leaving your house because there is something on the other side. Like, could be that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's,
and you have
they
to
are
do
in
that
their
movement,
bedroom,
and
so,
yeah, it's you're in your, I don't know.
I mean, it's a bit annoying at first, but then it kind of grows on you. But then again, I think they could have been a bit smarter about it. They could have, because look at the space in the middle, it's like just all dark. You can't see anything in the middle. I feel like they could have started the show maybe with a bit of performance art, you know, showcasing something from their childhood of them. Like, because they were talking about waking up and dreaming in their bed. I don't know. I feel like they could have just done something different, because looking at the brief and what they were trying to do, I've personally had like a lot of ideas of what they could have done. I feel like they could have done that better, but I mean, it's still
for me, the question is, you know, when you're so new and everybody, I mean, as you can see, there are many people there, so everybody's like, who's on next? So let's go and see, and we're spending an hour over this. I wonder, yeah, you need a set and you need to give a point of view, but isn't the collection what speaks the most about you? Isn't the collection, I mean, those clothes are what will propel you into a different dimension, and then you will be able, I don't know, you'd seem to think differently, you know, they could have had some performance arts there. You know, like a cold wall that some people say maybe it's a little bit too much for how young and new he is. By the way, I like his work, so I'm not criticizing.
I think with like runway shows today, I think sometimes I look at the clothes last. I look at the way they've presented everything. A Cold War is a good example. Like the last 2 seasons, Sam's done like, you know, a big show, like there's something to look at apart from the clothes, and you can make up your mind thinking, wow, he's really like thought about something. He's really trying to tell us something here. Like when I go to, if people go to a show, or if I go to a show, they have the briefs sometimes on the seat, but not everyone is gonna straight away read it, you know. They're just gonna think, oh, let's just watch the show and let me make up my mind that way. For example, with Will Sponner, she's one of my favorite designers as well. She does a lot before the collection. She does a lot of research, and just the way she presents everything, like this Mambo Jumbo collection, like the whole curation, who she had there, who was on the piano, all of that I took into consideration before.
But there's only one Grace Wells Bonner, I mean, who's 28 and have, you know, a Man Booker Prize winner, reading live. You know, I mean, we've discussed this in a panel that you probably watched. She is an academic and intellectual, you know. And I wish everybody was like that in fashion, but it's a little bit of a wishful thinking.
Paria.
Yeah.
Her show,
good example.
Her presentation was neat. Like before this collection, I liked her stuff, but I was still a bit, you know. But when I saw the show, I was impressed. I became an instant fan, you know, because the whole presentation was just neat. From when the one female look went to the cage to when they was waking up from the bed. Like the whole presentation I looked at before assessing each look and looking at the clothes, you know.
But so actually you're telling us that for you it's very important the way there is, sorry I interrupted, the presentation around it.
Yeah, because...
Do you agree?
I mean, I'm probably the same, but whenever I talk to buyers who go to shows, right, for them it's absolutely the other way around. They're there to see the clothes and the garments.
I think there's a danger with it.
So you can't probably, you have to cater a bit to everyone. And I think everyone wants to have a bit of that point which would give, you know, writers something to write about because they see so many shows and they need something to,
also, you know,
to start the story. But then in the end it has to be about the clothes. And that's why I actually quite like the mattress thing, because
it's a hint.
It's a little bit subversive. It's a little bit connected to the theme, but also it is about the clothes and how clothes move. And it is a little bit awkward and it is a bit strange, so it puts you in a certain mood. So I quite like that. And finally enough, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It just reminded me that Bianca Saunders at London Men's, she had a collection about bedrooms and intimate space. And it was a presentation which is a bit different, but she also tried to talk about intimacy in the bedroom. And
they were on mattresses as well.
And there were mattresses. So it's just interesting to see kind of similar topic done very, very differently from a very different background.
Well, I do totally agree with you guys that, I mean, I don't need to go to a fashion show to see something that is barely styled, something, you know, I mean, something that is just walking up and down. I can see it in a showroom. So I think the styling, the hair, the makeup, the music, everything gives a tone to it, and that's what it should be. And then some people like, you know, Grace or Ben, I mean, some people are deeper and they go further, and or one that comes to mind in the intellectual way is Miuccia Prada, or those that come to mind historically in the spectacle way are John and Lee, you know, John Galliano and Lee McQueen. So yes, I think that this is the right balance at the beginning. There is something, and as Richard was saying at the beginning, it looks established, it looks rich, but you can still really see the clothes because they still need to establish.
There's also a danger that, like, if you don't do a big production, your work and your clothes aren't quantified. And I think it really suits some designers to present. Martin Rose did a show a couple of seasons ago in the street in Kentish Town. And there was something it was so brilliant because, you know, obviously that is a production, but it was so true to her. And it was such a lovely evening because the sun was out. And I think the
people that live there were out.
Yeah, it was a real community thing. And it was just, I think the danger sometimes is, especially for young designers, is if they feel pressure to do a sort of a production and to bring more than just, you know, that's when people
also needs money.
Who's got the cash?
Cornwall got investment, and so, you know, they have money, because also if you think about what Grace does, I mean, it doesn't cost that much money. So she's particularly brilliant because what she did at the Serpentine the other day was within her own exhibition. I mean, but who else has an exhibition at the Serpentine, which, by the way, it was so amazing, but we talked about Grace a lot. It's a good example, though, so I hear where you come from, and probably those are the people that you interact with. The reality in fashion and the reality in the world is that it needs money, it needs support, and not everybody gets it. So no matter, I mean, these two kids are very young, and I think, for me, the most impressive thing is how established they looked.
Yeah.
For, you know, probably the fourth collection and the second show in an important fashion week where Mr. Armani showed this morning and Paul Armani, so this is in between Paul Armani and Prada, and boom, you know. I think for Milan, this is absolutely extraordinary.
Do we know how old they are?
They're very young. No, I don't think I have the age, but they're in their
Mid-20s,
mid-20s. You know, they're barely out of school. So.
But you're right, in the context of Milan, it's quite amazing. And, you know, because if they were in London, you have so many young designers, or in Paris you have a bit more, but like in Milan, it's probably also a bit of fresh air for journalists there, like to see something like that, rather than like a big theatre, like for a big brand. And
yeah. Well, I don't think that in London they would have been underwhelming because there's always
no, but
room
they would
for
be part
newness
of like,
here.
no, yeah.
But yeah, they're not alone.
They're not alone.
Yeah. Well, we're very quiet.
I like it in movement more than the stills, actually.
You like the film better?
Yeah, more than the stills.
I think the sequins and the prints are very, very impressive especially for their age. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes, and also commercially, because we like fashion for the creativity, but then if nobody wears it or buys it, then, you know, it's irrelevant. And one thing we were discussing about London with people here and people of the BFC is that London is full of these amazing talents, but then they don't get in, some do, but some of them don't get investment, and so then they plafond at like 5 million. And 5 million turnover, it's small, and it doesn't allow you to go to the next step. And whilst Milan, it's made of big brand with big money, you know, big success stories from 30, 40 years ago. So could this be the next? Are there? Who's on next? Do you see a potential?
I think they're definitely heading into the right direction. Like, looking at the collection first glance, you can't say, oh, this is a copy of this and this. I see an inspiration. I see a bit of Dries, but that's about it. Like, I feel like this is very.
It does feel like
I feel like this is still very them, and I see where they're coming from. And looking at some of their past collections, when I was skipping through their website, they are definitely continuing a story. And it's not too left, it's not too right, it's just they're kind of going into the right direction. I feel like this could be good, and if they keep progressing like that, then...
It could be the next big thing in Milan.
For sure.
Also, if they decide Milan doesn't work, this could work in Paris just as easily.
Do you think so?
As I said, I think it looks really European to me.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I have a very preconceived idea about what Milan shows look like. And, you know, some of the best clothes in the world come out of Milan, but this could be in Paris. It could be fun.
Could you see this in London?
I mean, the thing about London is I think you can see anything out of London, which is kind of what I love about it. But I think that there's a discipline there which feels... it's young, but it's... Yeah, it could be in London. I think it feels challenging in Milan. And I think there are probably brands that might do something along these lines that are London-based that might do it a little better.
You mention brands, or you don't want to? It's not the point.
No, I mean, I look at it and I think, you know, in terms of sort of, you know, like the PVCs and I mean, Christopher Kane is so brilliant at executing collections that have all those really subtle, modest undertones I think the casting on this is really good as well.
Yeah, I also think the makeup and everything, it's, you know, not overdone, very fresh. We couldn't find credit, so I'm sorry, guys. I don't know who styled it and who did her makeup. But for me, bottom line is that I thought with Georgie, our fashion editor, to take the risk and do a panel on this. And you never know, you know, there's not much to say about the past, and you don't know what's happening, and it's on the same day. And I'm very happy we did it, because I repeat, I'm quite impressed by the maturity of it. And it's not only the young age of the designers, but it's especially the young age of the brand. And that's something that it's not always, you know, we talked a lot about the young, amazing designers that London offer, and one of the things we say the most is like they stepped up this season. They really stepped up. They gave us some tailoring, but you know, they stepped up, which is true, but maybe some of them have 3 years behind them, not 1.5, and these guys, they stepped up already, and that's what impresses me, and you know, aesthetically liking it or not, but I'm really curious to see what's next.
Good luck to them.
Sorry?
Good luck to them.
Good luck to them. Yes. Could that be a good conclusion of our panel?
I think they definitely are one to watch. I think that title's rightly, you know, rightly deserved. I'll check it out again.
Good, so well done, guys, and stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, SHOWstudio channel on YouTube, to know what you're going to see next. And I would like you to notice this beautiful illustration that are made by our, for this week, this month, in-house artist, Beth Fraser, and she is illustrating every panel. You might recognize the look of this panel. So we still have a few naked silhouettes that will be collaged and illustrated soon. So stay tuned. We're going to do Prada tonight at 5:30 London time. I hope to see you all back here. Bye-bye.